videos, I'm going to show you how to set up your car to be manufactured using a CNC router. For this exercise, you're going to need two files. One is called f1tools.tools and one is called manufacture sample 3. So you need to download those from the class notebook and upload. Manufacture sample 3 is the first thing you will need to do. So go to your project or your folder where you're saving all your components, parts, the car, and all your bits and pieces, and hit upload. Mine's just in my downloads folder, so I'll just get manufacture sample 3 and hit upload. Should only take a few seconds for that to come in, and once it's done, it will appear in the project browser on the left-hand side. Should be in that list called manufacture sample 3. Now it's very important that you don't drag this inside of your car. It's very important that you open up manufacture sample 3 and we'll work from inside this document. So it will be a separate file from your car. So the manufacturing file is a separate thing to your actual car itself. Now once you open this up, you'll have a number of components already in this model. One is a thing called an x-axis, which is an arrow, and this represents sort of a plug which goes into the back of your car, which helps hold your car while it's being machined. It doesn't look exactly like this, but that is just sort of to help you set things up. Another thing in here is this clamp, which is also within the machine, and that helps hold the car, and it also rotates the car inside the machine. You have this brownie looking box here, which is a part of the balsa wood that is left over and isn't machined. And it also has a little extrusion coming out of it. And that goes into your car, and the idea is it holds your car in place while it's being machined. We'll have to cut that off and sand it off later on, and you might have to resize it and reshape it depending on your design. But it's all there set up, ready to go, so you don't have to make that part. And then the other two things are a couple of sketches. And one is called a V boundary, it's a vertical boundary, and one's a horizontal boundary. And this is the area which is going to be machined. So everything outside of these black lines here isn't going to be machined as a part of your project. There is a balsa block in here as well, which is hidden out. That's more or less what it looks like. You will need to select this at some point as a thing that we need to do when we set it up, the model, but it's much easier to sort of hide it and work with it hidden for most of the time when we're creating a manufacture sample. All right. So the very first thing we want to do with this manufacture sample is bring our car in, and just like any other component like a wheel or a grommet, we're just going to drag the car into this model. It might take a couple of seconds for it to drop it in. And just like we do when we drag a wheel or a grommet in, we need to rotate it into roughly the right position first. Now it's going to be going on this x-axis fixture, or this spigot. So again, we just want it slightly to one side just so we can see what we're doing. And we'll use the joint tool. So use the joint tool to position this in the right place. Now, I'll hover over the back edge of the car, over that cylinder housing, and I just want to keep a note of where the red and the green axes are, so that red one's sort of coming out towards us. So we're going to use that as a reference when we select the next part. So click here, and then we're going to hover over this midpoint here, and I just want to make sure that the red is facing the same direction when I click on this part of the cylinder, but it needs to be at that origin point just there. Now it should move over into this position, and sometimes it might be backwards, you might have to hit flip, sometimes you might have to rotate it so it's just in the right position. Might be upside down sometimes, but just give that If you need to rotate it, do so. Now, sometimes things like your virtual cargo or your wheels get left over on one side if you haven't jointed them in properly. That's not a problem. We're not machining the wheels, and we're not machining the grommets, and we're not machining the virtual cargo, so that's okay. What we might do at this point, though, is just hide them out because we don't need to see them. So when we're working in this environment, I guess there's a lot of sort of drop-down trees which we need to go through sometimes. So find the car itself or the car model and start hiding each of the components in here. Oops, out. You might even have bodies as well you want to hide out. If you've got a 3D printed nose or 3D printed parts on your car, you might need to hide those bodies out. Okay, so the car is more or less ready to manufacture. As I said, the black lines represent the areas of the car which need to be machined. Now, in this case, I've got quite a large gap here. So the machine's machining a lot of stuff it doesn't really need to. It's about 10 millimeters for me. Yours might not need to move at all. It might be perfect as it is, but there's no point machining this area here. So we just need to reduce this size. So I'm going to open up my sketches. I want to edit. I might start with my V boundary first. Double click on this one. Instead of 205, I'm going to make it 195. I'll take 10 mil out. As soon as I do that, this little brown box gets a little bit bigger. Sometimes you might even need to make that box bigger. It's up to 210. I also do the same with the H boundary as well. So for me it was 195. Yours might be different. Okay, so that's optimized, ready for my car. As I said before, you might need to reposition this. Let's say it's not in an ideal position. You might need to change the location of that. Once I click on it, I can see down here where that file or that feature is in my browser, Extrude 2. So I might need to double click on Sketch 4 and change the position of this, maybe bring it up or down or make it bigger or smaller to make it work. 10 millimeters is about as small as I would go. Your car might have some different circumstances where you need to change this completely, but come and speak to me if you need to do that. So you may need to change that or change the position of that to work better for your car. For me, it works. It's an all right location. I'm going to have to obviously cut this off and sand it once I've finished machining the car, but it needs to stay attached to this front block, so it needs to stay attached there. There's not much else I need to do from the design point of view, so I can, in the next video, I'll move into the manufacture area and we can start getting the model set up ready for manufacturing.